Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, March 30th, 2026. So we start this episode at the WSB, and this episode actually has me questioning something that I stated, I believe, on Friday about maybe Jack had Jason. According to how this episode started today, maybe he doesn't. Because I said that I thought that that Brennan was hiding Jason, like to get him out of Dodge from from Cullum, especially because it happened like quickly after um it was after Lucas told him that Cullum wasn't dead and that he made it through surgery. So I felt like, oh, okay, so he's gonna hide Jason to keep him safe from Cullum. However, today the episode opens up with Brennan on the phone trying to get a lead on where Jason is. So maybe he doesn't have Jason. But anyway, Carly comes and she's like demanding answers. She wants to know where's Jason. She wants to know why Jason would have shot Cullum. She wants to know all of the answers, and he's not really giving her the answers, and she's getting frustrated with everything that he's telling her because you're WSB, you should know this. But he doesn't know, and I'm no advocate for Brendan, but he does not know because Cullum is a double agent and he is working independently of the WSB for, what everything that's going on. So he doesn't really know and he can't provide Carly with the answers, and she's feeling like the walls are closing in on her, and he's basically telling her that she may never see Jason again. And that's a big pill to swallow. She just got Jason back. Jason's only been back a little over a year, or has it been 2 years? Been over a year, right? And he's been back and she just got him back, and now you telling me I'm never going to see him again. So it's a lot for her to take in, and she's like, you can't, the WSB can't take everyone I love from me, because he's taking Jocelyn, and her and Jocelyn have the biggest rift between them that they've ever had in their entire lives, all because of the WSB and Jocelyn's misdirected anger towards Sunny. But anyway, then we have Cody and Molly. He run a raffle to go on this vacation, and he's excited to take Molly, and Molly's like, yeah, I can't go on the vacation because I'm having the surgery. And he's like, oh, and she's like, well, I can't reschedule the surgery. And he's like, absolutely not, because you could have a flare up in between, whenever you reschedule the surgery for. So I don't want you to do that. Your health comes first, it's important. And he's like, he wants to take care of her after her surgery. And he was like, I can stay here or you can come stay with me. And she's like, you're sure? And Molly's acting like she's never been treated well by a man before, when I don't care that her and TJ ended, but you and TJ was good to you when you had, like, don't act like he's the first man to ever make sacrifices for you. Girl, TJ was good to you. But anyway, I'm not here to advocate for TJ, who doesn't exist or who's upstairs in the hospital. I'm not That's not what I'm here for. Wouldn't it, if TJ wasn't upstairs in the hospital, wouldn't it be great if, like, she was in the hospital to have her surgery and he came to see her? But we can't have nice things. We don't technically have a TJ anymore, so, but it's anyway, neither here nor there. Then we have Wiley and his hooker talk, because he's still asking what's a hooker. Is being a hooker a bad thing? And Brooklyn and Chase have to try and smooth things over with the social worker, and the social worker is giving off negative vibes. Like, yeah, y'all not a candidate because of kids were running around talking about hookers because they're overhearing adult conversations or whatever. And so they're talking about, we got to make some calls. Who can we call? Who can we call? Then they start talking to Michael, and Michael was like, "Oh, I know the head of social work. He is on the board at DH. I met him a time or two. I can call him." Which, if I was Michael, I wouldn't do a darn thing for Chase. But you know, Michael ain't like that. He's not keeping the beef and the feud going. Huh? This is crazy. He's not the one keeping the beef and the feud going. But so he's gonna offer and volunteer. Then he's like, you know what? Actually, y'all got somebody else better that y'all can talk to. And he's like, who? And they was like, Willow. And Chase is all too happy to go over there and talk to Willow. I'm telling y'all. I'm telling y'all. I said something months ago. I may not have said it to y'all, but I think I'm not gonna say it. But he was all too excited to go over there and have a reason to go over there and talk to Willow. And BLQ's face is like, why you had to bring up this? Right, girl. Because if you know, like I know, that's a no go. But he gonna go over there all happy and the beginning of the end. Anyway, then we have Christina and Michael. They're talking, and he's telling her, about the confrontation that he had with Olivia about Jacinda, and also what Tracy said about him not respecting Jacinda. And she's like, "You?" She said that, and then Tracy walks into the kitchen, and then she asks Michael to leave and go get Danny's stuff so she could take it back to her mom's house, and so she can talk to Tracy. And so she's talking to Tracy and asking Tracy why she's being Switzerland and not being supportive of Michael's relationship with Jacinda. And she was like, I don't have a problem with Jacinda. And she's like, yeah, but you can't be Switzerland. You have to be like, why not get your house in order and stand up for Michael? Like, Michael don't really need her standing up for him, but I don't think, and I wouldn't say that she was being Switzerland. She's okay with Jacinda, and she made that clear. Um, but Michael is like, he is questioning his behaviors. Like, is he trying to he's trying to figure out, because it's a fine line of, yeah, I'm dating her, but are we really dating? Like, he wants to make that clear. It's not necessarily that he's trying to be disrespectful, but rolling around on the floor in the gatehouse doesn't necessarily scream, I'm serious and this is an actual relationship given her past. So he has to figure out that balance and how to juggle that. But I think that conversation between Tracy and Christina was pretty um unnecessary. But anyway, then we have Cullum and Joss is in there, and Cullum wakes up. But then Lucas comes in, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I was surprised to hear you're working today." And then he goes to check on his patient, and then they're talking, and she's explaining to him grief because she's done this a time or two. It's so funny to me because both Trina and Jocelyn have done this twice. But she talks to him, and then Cullen wakes up and he's intubated, and Lucas is asking him if he knows who shot him. Then we have the teenagers. They're out there on the pier, and you can tell that Rocco's going to break any day now. And Danny is just really upset over his dad. But today was pretty chill. Let me know what you thought about today's episode, and I will be back tomorrow. Remember, I'll be kind of late because I have to travel back home. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, March 31st, 2026. So we start this episode with James, Felicia, and Nathan um at the Bobby's, and they're having breakfast or whatever. And James is trying to decide what he wants to eat, and then he decides he want to get pancakes like his dad. But then he sees Coach Kai, and when he sees Coach Kai, he asks, can he go over there and say hi? So he's over there talking with Trina and Kai, and as he's talking with Trina and Kai, Felicia and Nathan have a conversation, and he's like, I know that you weren't happy about what you saw between me and Lulu. And, she basically tells him, I thought you would hurt my daughter and she's been through enough, but, she's not hurt by it. So I'm not hurt by it. Live your life, basically. And she says that, James want to be just like you, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And they're talking, right? And so they're talking, and he gets a text message. And the text message is from no other than Jen Sidwell. I knew for a while now, probably since the beginning, since we knew that Pascal and all of them had Britt, that Nathan reappearing was not a coinky dink, and that he had something to do with Sidwell. So he goes over to Sidwell, and and Sidwell was like, I just talked to Jordan. She's going to be my eyes and ears. And I need you to find evidence on Sonny. And he was like, I don't know if I can do that. He was like, Nathan West, don't know if you can do that. But what did he call him? Somebody Faison. So Faison got another son that look like Nathan. What's going on? But I knew Nathan won't Nathan. And this is crazy. I actually enjoyed this episode because a lot happened. I like this episode. Now we have my people, Portia and Isaiah. Isaiah's not my people. But Portia, Portia and Isaiah, they're walking down the hallway. And Portia is like, she's nervous about Curtis coming to the appointment because this is the first time she's seen him since the whole Jordan was pregnant thing. So he was like, oh, you think you're going to give you a hard time? She was like, he might, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I just wish I could know, how he was going to act. Curtis stepped off the elevator. And he was like, well, we're about to find out. Kurt's like, I need to speak to you privately, not confrontationally. Actually, he hasn't been confrontational since the last time he asked for the paternity test. But anyway, non-confrontational. He's like, can I speak to you in private? Isaiah looking like, and Portia was like, it's fine. She can handle Kurt. It's like, she don't need no protector. Not like that from him. She can handle him. She know how to put him in his place when need be. She don't need protection from him. But anyway, so she's like, if this about Jordan, he was like, about Jordan? No, I was just gonna ask you if you thought we can learn the gender of the baby. And she's like, I'm not ready for all that yet. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, what about Jordan? And she was like, I know that she told you that we spoke, and they hash that out, and they basically come to agreement that they're going to accept each other's relationships, which means that the relationships are probably going to go kaput. So then, they go to their appointment, Then she's talking to Isaiah again. He's like, "How's the appointment?" She was like, "Yeah, it was cool." He was like, "How was Curtis?" He's like, "No, Curtis was real cool. You know, he gonna accept you, and I'm gonna accept Jordan. We cool. And you know what? You know, maybe co-parenting with Curtis ain't gonna be so bad. You know, it's good. It's good. It's good." And he's looking like, "I don't want it to be good. I don't. I just my thing is, if you are with her and what you have is good, why is it threatening to you that she may have a peaceful co-parenting relationship with Curtis, who is also in a relationship? It's not even like Curtis is single and he and they are having this, peaceful relationship. I can kind of see you being afraid then, maybe, but if you got it like that, then you shouldn't be worried about it, right? But especially since Curtis is in another relationship where he obviously wants to be, why do you care that they're having a peaceful co-parent relationship? You also say that you want what's best for Portia and the baby that's not yours, need I remind you, but you want the best for Portia and her baby. However, comma, isn't what's best for her and her baby is to have a peaceful co-parenting relationship with Curtis? But anyway, then we have Jordan and Jens. That was a riot. So, what was Jordan thinking? Like setting up all those direct deposits she got. She thought she worked for them. Like she was doing her job and that was her compensation. Girl, you ain't did enough work to earn them checks. She ain't did enough work for them checks. And Jens basically told her that you gonna earn your money or you gonna lose everything because you done made this whole life, which I said the other day. I don't know if I said it to you all or in a conversation with someone, but you've made this big permanent change in your life. You're making permanent changes in your life on a job that was supposed to be temporary. And now is like, what to do? And he's like threatening you now. And then so she tells Curtis, and Curtis was like, "Well, maybe you should leave that job because you went there to get, information, but bitch, you ain't finding shit." I'm sorry, but it's true. You haven't found anything. You've been working on, if it's not been a year, it's going on a year. You've been working with Jens and you found nothing. Absolutely nothing. You have gotten no intel, no nothing. So what is the point of you even still working there? Now he's threatening you. Like you can just walk away. I mean, Curtis got money. He the CEO of Aurora. He can take care of y'all. Like that's your man, your man, your man. Go back to, well, she might not be able to hire Jordan back because of Jens, but she can find another job. Like she got a resume. She can get another job. Like you can cut your losses. But I was rewatching something over the weekend, and when her and Anna had this conversation, and Anna was like, "Well, you making all these big changes and spending all this money. Are you just going to be able to walk away when time comes?" She ain't never answered the question. And obviously she can't. And that job about to become a source of contention between Jordan and Curtis. But then we have Willow and Chase. Chase goes over to ask her, and of course she agrees. And then Brooklyn is upset with Michael because he had the bright idea to send Chase over there, but now she's worried about him and the friendship with Willow, which she should be because he is obsessed with Willow the way Willow become obsessed with these men. Like he's brainwashed by Willow, like Willow child. General Hospital was good today. It was a mess, but it was good. I enjoyed. It was yummy to my tummy. But let me know what y'all think in the comments about today's episode and about the things that happened today, because today was pretty impactful. Let me know, and I'll be back around the same time, I guess, tomorrow. Um, Good night. Hey guys, let's let me tell y'all what happened real quick. So I recorded this whole recap and it was great. It flowed. It was wonderful. It was probably one of the best ones I've done because the way that they edited the show made the recap flow. But then I go to post the recap, and guess what? There's no sound. So now I have to redo it. It's not going to be the same as it was before. So this is what y'all get. Let's talk General Hospital for today, April 1st, 2026. Also, I'm tired, and I still got to do Beyond the Gates. Anyway, yo, so we start this episode with Trina and Kai. They're at Willow's office, and they start by talking about about Trina singing at Christina's opening of Charlie's, and somehow the conversation turns into Willow and the situation and the information that they know about Willow. And so while they're talking about Willow, Michael walks up, but he's not an eavesdropper and he has really no reason to eavesdrop on Trina and Kai. So he's like, did I interrupt? You seemed like y'all was having an important conversation. They're like, no. So he was there because Willow is having a hard time with his current softball coach, and he was seeing if Kai will take him on his team. And Kai's like, a hard softball coach isn't the end of the world. Basically, he can build character, and if he make it through the season, he'll feel better about himself. He was like, tell you what, if he's still having problems with the coach in a couple of weeks, I'll take him on. Michael's like, yeah, you're right, I didn't even think about it like that, thanks. He leaves. And that brings me to Willow and Drew. So meanwhile, Willow and Drew are at the house. Willow is getting ready to leave. She's waiting for the caregiver who is running late because she got, stuff to do. She's a mover and shaker now. So, she's waiting for them, and she's talking to Drew and telling him about how bad he did her, and how now that she's in the place of in his position now, being the congresswoman, people listen to her and they take her, ideas seriously, which you never did. She's just talking to him or whatever. And Drew is just sitting there, gotta listen to this because he ain't got no way of escape because he is he can hear and understand everything, but he can't move. Paralytic like a it must be the strongest paralytic there is. But anyway, so that brings me to Nina and Jack. Nina is at work, and Jack comes in, and he's basically like, what information do you got for me from Charlotte? She's like, I don't got nothing yet. He's like, oh, you don't got nothing yet? Well, I'm about to put Willow on blast. And she's like, what? Charlotte is like a child to me. He was like, oh, now you gotta pick between two of your kids. She's obviously made her choice. She was like, just give me some more time and I'll have the information. He was like, look, you're not the only one I got looking for Valentine. So if somebody else come to me with the information first, then I don't need you no more. And Willow is still on blast. So she leaves, and then she takes the fact that Jack barged into her office out on Jacinda, which that's how Jack does business. That's how he does business. So I don't know why you taking it out on Jacinda, but she takes it out on Jacinda and gives Jacinda a task. And anyway, so while she gives her the task, she goes over to Willow's house. Willow is still talking to Drew, and she's going back and forth about, Kai was a fine hire. But you know what? Kai said something I don't really understand. He knew that the sound carries from in here to the bedroom. How would he know that? And then Trina, how would she know that Wiley's ringtone is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? That's weird. Soon as she's thinking that and adding that all up, Nina comes, and Nina is upset, and she's trying to talk to Willow, and Willow like, I don't got time for that. I got somewhere to be, and the caregiver is like, can you stay here with Drew? All right, bye. So she leaves and goes back to her office where Trina and Kai are still talking with wide open doors. Okay, maybe the door isn't wide open anymore because they is now cracked, but the door is still open, and Willow hears everything they're saying. Willow knows that they know that she shot Drew. Idiot. Idiot, stupid Trina. Because at the end of the day, I don't even really care about Trina because she's been acting like Curtis Jr. lately. So she can act like Curtis Jr. all she wants and be stupid. But the thing is, this blows back on her mom because Portia is pregnant. The pregnancy was always fragile, but now her baby Trina might be in trouble or in danger, and Portia can't handle that. And I swear to God, if something happened to that baby, because and yes, Trina got the evidence for her mom, but it ended up coming out anyway. And so it's not even worth it. And your mama told you to stay out of it, and she didn't tell you to go messing with the evidence. Nobody told you to do that. You did that on your own volition. And now Portia gonna have that on her conscience. And the fact that it's just too much. But anyway, then we have Lulu and Laura. They're at Bobby's, and she's talking to her mom, asking her mom, can she use her WSB contacts to try and figure out where Jason at, because she feels guilty. You know, her son is the reason that Cullen was shot, but Jason has decided to take the fall for Rocco, and now he's, you know, in the crosshairs of the WSB, which means he was going to be anyway, because that's why Dante was even going to get him. But okay, whatever. So she's upset and she's feeling guilty. And, you know, they're talking about Jason and all of this. And Ezra overhears and then joins the conversation. And he's, you know, disparaging Jason. And, you know, Lulu is getting a bit defensive. And then, you know, he's telling Laura that he has something to talk to her about, but that she probably doesn't want him to say it in front of Lulu. So Lulu leaves, and then he starts talking to Laura, asking Laura to have a press conference, distancing herself from Sonny because he's been getting calls from Sidwell, and Sidwell is dead set on proving that Sonny has something to do with the murder of his son and retaliating. And so it's probably best for her life if she distances herself. And she's like, yeah, I know, I see what you're trying to put down, but I'm not falling for it. So yeah, no, I'm out. So anyway, we got Dumb and Dumber over at the hospital. He's like Lucas is upset, you know, about um Marco dying, of course. And then Britt is upset because her whole life is screwed now. She's not getting her medicine, and you know, they know that she tried to take her medicine. You know, it's a lot going on right now. And so Lucas is like, you're probably mad at me. No, Lucas is, you know, upset about Marco, and then Britt is like, you're probably upset with me because you're probably thinking that Marco is dead because of me. He was like, no, they're talking. They put two and two together and get four. That Cullum probably read the text that Lucas sent Marco, and that's how he found Britt at the pier. And Marco probably got stabbed by Cullum. So then that realization hits him like a ton of bricks, and he's sitting there and he's thinking, wait, so all of this started with Sidwell. All of this started with, you know, listen to nobody and stay away from Marco. But I digress. Anyway, so he was like, all of this started with Sidwell. So he runs over to Windermere, and, you know, Sidwell is ready to, you know, reminisce about Marco with him, talking about I got some pictures I can show you. You can share me some stories about Marco. And they're talking, and he was like, don't you want to know why your son is dead? Because he about to tell him because of you. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. Anyway, so then we have Nathan, and wait, before I go there. So then Jack goes back to Jacinda, and he's like, look, I got information that will be useful to Michael. I need you to get some information from Charlotte. But then we have Nathan and Jens, and we find out that Nathan is not Nathan, of course. He's Nathan's twin brother, and that he may have had something to do with Sidwell drugging Maxie because he needed to be able to make other people believe that he was Nathan in order for Maxie to believe it. Child, it was a mess. But that was General Hospital for today. Let me know how y'all what y'all thought about it down in the comments, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, April 2nd, 2026. Hey guys, so we start this episode. Sunny's at home and Laura comes over, and she apologizes for what's going on with Jason. And she's like, from what I know of Jason, he doesn't leave a messy crime scene. And he tells him that yeah, he doesn't. And they're talking about the Jason of it all, about the Marco of it all. She asked him, did he have something to do with Marco's murder? And he tells her no. She tells him, what Ezra propositioned her for yesterday. And Sunny's like, that's actually a good idea and you should go with it. You need to distance yourself because Sidwell is in a place where he is reckless right now, and he doesn't want anything to happen to Laura. And so he's like, yeah, you should do it. So then he tells her that, he told Rick everything and that he needs her to trust Rick. And, you know, people don't have good experiences with Rick, but she trusts Sunny. So she goes along with it. He calls Rick over there. And, he already told Rick that um, that Sidwell had the incriminating photos on him. So he tells him that it's not just him, that he, have photos of him and Laura. And, they tell it, and Rick agrees with Sunny, and it's like, yeah, you need to do the press conference. So it's decided that Laura is going to condemn Jason and distance herself from Sunny. Then we have Rick and Liz. Rick goes to the hospital because he's trying to figure out if Cullum is going to survive the shooting or not. And of course, Liz is not supposed to, because of HIPAA, supposed to give any information to Rick. And she is a little hesitant as well because she knows that Rick doesn't like Jason. And he's like, wait, I'm not trying to get Jason into any trouble. I'm doing this on Sunny's behalf. And she's like, oh, okay, I understand. If we do have anybody here that's from the WSB, they are going to survive, in a roundabout way that she can without, deliberately and intentionally violating HIPAA. So, and then they get to kissing in the hallway because they're a thing now. But anyway, then we have Dante and Cullum. Dante is trying to figure out, what happened at the pier, who shot you, and he's like, you don't believe your own witness, and we know that the witness is Britt. Britt told him what Jason told her to tell him, that Jason shot him. Britt um told that to the cops. And so Dante is like suspicious. He doesn't believe anything that Cullum is telling him. And he's basically trying to get Cullum to give him more details and more information about what was going down at the pier, what's going on. And he asked him, how did you know that Jason and Britt were at the pier? And he gave some kind of crazy slick answer. And Dante's like, yeah, I see you, basically. So then we have Lulu and Nathan. They're down at the pier, back at the scene of the crime. And as we know, Nathan is not Nathan, and Nathan is basically working with Sidwell. So he is more than willing to let Jason go down for what he knows that Rocco did. And so he's trying to talk Lulu out of looking into it further because she feels horrible and she wants to look into it further and she wants to clear Jason's name and figure out, we know that Cullum is dirty. Let's figure that, what is out. But he kind of like talks her out of it. However, I know Lulu, and Lulu is like a dog with a bone, and she might not just let this go as easily as he thinks she will, because that's just not who Lulu is. She's an investigative reporter, investigating things is what she does, and she knows Danny, and her son is like brothers with Danny. So the fact that Danny's son that Jason's son is grieving that his father is taken away by the WSB and he may never see his father again. I don't think that Lulu is going to be able to sit by and just let it go. It's not in her nature. Not Lulu, the Lulu we know. She is a Spencer through and through, and she's not just going to sit by and let this disservice or injustice go on. Then we have Rocco and Geo. Rocco is um at Bobby's, and he's, still dealing with the fact of what he did, and he's also, sad that Danny is going through what he's going through because, like I said, they're like brothers, and he feels responsible for what Danny is going through. And Gio's talking to him, trying to make him feel better or whatnot. And then Lulu, when she leaves, Nathan comes back to get him, and she's like, "Oh, fawning over him. We need to get you home and change your bandage." And he's like, "I got to get back to the world." And it's I feel, and I can't believe I feel like this, but I feel bad for Lulu and Rocco because they didn't ask to be put in the situation. Yes, it's true. Rocco should not have followed Britt, but this is all Sidwell's mess. But anyway, then we have Emma and Felicia. They're talking about her grandmother, and she's like, "We need to bring my grandma back home because they're not interested in, helping her get well." And she's like, "Look, your grandmother believes Faison is alive, and if she comes back to Port Charles, that everyone's going to be in danger. So, the best place for her is where Kevin sent her." And Emma is feeling really sad. Then, she's writing a letter to her grandmother, and Geo stops by to see, and she's telling her that telling him that she wish she can do more. And he's telling her, your grandma would just be glad to know that you're doing well and you're thriving. Then we have Lucas and Sidwell, and I don't understand this. Lucas is going to stay at Windermere. It's so weird. It's that Cullum stabbed Marco and killed him. You know that Cullum is doing some kind of illegal activity with Sidwell, but you're going to go stay with Sidwell. And then Pascal comes in the room. He's like, "I heard you're going to be staying here." And he's drunk and he's upset because, as we found out recently, he has feelings for Marco. Well, had feelings for Marco. And so he's grieving the loss of Marco. And so he starts going off on Lucas because he blames Lucas for Marco's death. But you literally called Cullum on Marco, and you should know that Cullum killed Marco. But I digress. And then we have Britt and Brad, and I love this because Brad blackmailed my girl, and I have not forgiven him for that, and I don't see that I would. And I just love that she slapped fire from his mouth, even though it wasn't in Portia's name. It was in Portia's name in my heart. But yeah, she is talking to Brad, and she's trying to get Brad's help to figure out who it was Jason was protecting. And he is like, look, you trying to figure out who Jason is protecting is going against what Jason want, right? If you really love him, give him this, which he's not wrong. And if she finds out who he's protecting, she's not going to be able to do anything about it anyway, because unless she's going to turn in Rocco just to get Jason back, and that's crazy if you do that, the boy you claim to love like a son. But yeah, that was General Hospital for today. Let me know what you all thought of today's episode down in the comments, and I'll see you all tomorrow on Good Friday to wrap up the week. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, April 3rd, 2026. So we start this episode at the church. Lucas is having a moment alone with Marco. He is telling Marco that it's his fault because he asked Lucas to, risk himself to get the medicine for Britt and all of that. And, he's apologizing and um, he's making a promise to Marco that he won't let Cullum get away with what he's done to him. Then we see he shares a moment with Sidwell, and then he shares a moment with Isaiah. Isaiah's apologizing because he, feels like he's sorry that he couldn't do more to have saved Marco, and Lucas is telling him that he knows that he did everything that he could, but he's upset because while Marco was dying, instead of being there with Marco, he was, operating. And Isaiah's like, you're a doctor, you had to do what you had to do, and no one would hold that against you. But he feels grief about that. But what Isaiah doesn't know is part of that grief that um, Lucas feels about that is the fact that he was saving the person who did that to Marco. But then we have Alexis and Danny. So Alexis had to go and get Danny from school early because Danny got suspended because he got into a fight at school because a kid was saying things about his dad. And, Alexis is like, look, you can't just give up. Like, you still have to, your dad will want you to keep going and doing what you have to do and do what's right. And he's like, but he doesn't get to say things about my dad. And she's like, yes, but you don't get to fight and, get suspended. And he's like, he's asking his grandmother, his grandmother keeps telling him that she's doing everything that she can for Jason. And, he's like, well, how long am I supposed to wait? And she has a very frank conversation with Danny and lets him know that basically, look, I can't promise you or tell you when the next time you're going to see your dad. You may not, because he is in custody of the WSB and they don't have to follow the rules that other um, law enforcement agencies follow. So this isn't a typical situation. And, while that isn't necessarily the news that Danny wanted to hear, he respected that his grandmother told him the truth. Then we have Molly and Christina. Molly is getting checked in for her surgery. And I guess when she went to go have her surgery, Christina left and went to the funeral. And then when she came out of surgery, Cody was there and she was sky high on the drugs and being silly, talking about how much she loves his arms. And the whole time that we're watching Molly in this hospital and her and Cody and all of this, I keep thinking, I'm like, where is TJ? Because yes, her and TJ have broken up, but if TJ knowing TJ, how we know him, even if they had been broken up, he would have popped in for her surgery. It's just having TJ off screen is really crazy to me because it's just like, oh, let's ignore he's not here. Like Jordan don't ever mention her son. It's just crazy to me. And I okay, whatever. And then we have Nina and Curtis, and I'm so sick of Curtis. So he goes in and he's initially, very like short with Nina, which is good, it's warranted, it's valid. And then she's like, um, are you still, are you just gonna let our friendship go away because of what I did? And he's like, girl, what you did to Portia is basically like, it's unforgivable pretty much. And then she's like, yeah, but you did it to me, which she may have a point, but at the same time, yeah, anyway. Um, and my thing is, Curtis can forgive Nina, who lied. Well, she's not. She didn't lie to him, but she is a liar, a known liar. But you can have all this grace for Nina and forgiveness for Nina, but your wife, who I just, okay, Curtis, all right. You're friends with your bestie again, your lying bestie that you never hold accountable for anything that she does. But okay, they've made peace. Then we have Carly, Sunny, and Rick. Carly is trying to beg Sunny and Rick not to go to the funeral, but they want to go to the funeral because previously Jens and Sunny made peace. So they want to go show, look, we ain't had nothing to do with, what happened to your son. And they feel like staying away would be worse than going. They go. Sidwell doesn't throw them out or anything, but at the end, they said that they wanted to pay their respects and that they're sorry for his loss. And he tells them, "I don't believe you're sorry for anything, but you will be." Yeah. So then we have speaking of Isaiah, because I mentioned that, I want to stop. I just don't understand the need for Isaiah and Jordan to have conversation because my point, my stance is on that. Yes, Portia is making peace with Jordan for the sake of her child, but you know that Jordan is Portia's biggest op. Why you just sit and chit chatting with her? Why do you care that she may be putting herself in danger? And let me tell you what he about to do, because based on the promo that we see for Monday's episode, I know exactly what Isaiah is about to do. He's about to go complain to Portia about Jordan working for Sidwell and living with Curtis and how dangerous that could be for Curtis and Portia's baby. So he's trying to create drama where there is no longer any drama because as we know, he is not for the parents getting along because it threatens him. I'm so annoyed. Then we have Ava and Laura, and Ava's like, "Did you know Marco?" And she's like, "No, but if Lucas was with him, he had to be a good person." And they're talking, and then Ezra shows up, and they talk about the fact that she did do the press conference, and Ava was surprised that Laura did the press conference, but she um tells her that times have changed. No, Jordan comes up, sorry, and Jordan says that she was surprised that Laura did the press conference because distancing yourself from Sunny and Jason, that I know that had to be hard for you. And Jordan irritates my soul because girl, Laura wouldn't have to be doing any of this if you would have just did what you were tasked to do. Not that she was tasked to go over there and work for Sidwell. She volunteered. She volunteered and then she went over there and she proceeded to do nothing. Nothing. But yeah, that's General Hospital for this week. I'll see you guys on Monday for a fresh week of General Hospital. Let me know what you thought about today's episode down in the comments. And you guys have a safe and beautiful Easter weekend.